Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a college football game preview and prediction on the game of the week coming up in week 13 of this 2020 college football season, and that's going to be between the Auburn Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And this is going to be a very important game for both these teams moving forward, especially for Alabama, who's definitely a team right in contention for the college football playoff right now. And I would say that they are definitely the top favorite for winning another national championship this season, which Alabama is 7-0 right now. They've blown out pretty much all of their opponents up until this point. They're definitely looking like the top team in the country at 7-0. Meanwhile, for Auburn, Auburn's won 3 in a row. They're actually looking pretty good. And over the past month, they have not even lost since October 17th. So Auburn is looking pretty good right now heading into this matchup. And this would be a huge signature win if Auburn could get the win here, which it will not be easy against the Alabama team that has been so dominant all season. But we're going to be going over a full game preview and prediction on this one here today, starting out with your team trends. And of course, last week Auburn beat Tennessee 30-17 was their final score there. Then Kentucky, of course, got absolutely destroyed by Alabama. 63-3 was their final score there. Alabama getting the win. So all around, Alabama has played really well over the past couple of games. Of course, they had a big bye period between October 31st and November 21st because, of course, they had a couple of COVID-related postponements, but also in the same situation, they're looking really good right now. They've outscored both of their opponents over the past two games, 104-3, because they beat Kentucky 63-3, and then they shut out Mississippi State 41-0 a couple of weeks back. So Alabama is looking really good right now, and honestly, it's going to be really tough to stop this team. I think Alabama is going to be a really tough out moving forward, and I don't really see anyone beating Alabama as of now, but I definitely think, it could be possible moving forward, but Alabama is an extremely talented team this season, and they've been looking very good on both sides of the ball. Winning streaks for both these teams. Auburn is currently the 22nd ranked team in the nation. They're 5-2 with a 3-game winning streak, and then Alabama is your top team in the nation. They're 7-0 with a 7-game winning streak. So that's opposite as to what the graphic says, but Alabama definitely right now is your top team in the nation. They're all around looking like a very good team. Games to be on Saturday, November 28th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern in Tuscaloosa, so Alabama will be your home team for this matchup. Crimson Tide are currently favored by 24. This spread is going extremely heavy on Alabama, and that's only the opening spread, so it's very likely that we do see the spread possibly tighten up a bit over the next few days. But Alabama is a 24-point opening favorite. That just kind of shows how talented of a team Alabama is here. ESPN FPI's got Alabama 92%. Then the Vegas prediction is 41-29 right now towards Alabama. So surprisingly, the Vegas prediction actually is pretty close in comparison to the spread, which kind of is a rare factor there. But Alabama is still the leader there by 12 points. So all around, Alabama is your favorite in all three areas. Here's your stat comparison for this game. Auburn's currently got 28 points per game, 22 points allowed. They got 232 pass yards a game, 170 rush yards, and then 237 passing for yards allowed, and then 165 for rushing. For Alabama, they got 49 points per game, 19 points allowed. Got 366 pass yards a game, 182 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, they got 240 passing and then 118 rushing. So all around, for both these teams, they're looking really good, especially Alabama, though. Their points per game to points allowed ratio is incredible, 49-19. That is extremely impressive. They basically have only allowed 19 points on average per game, which the only reason why that number is so high, considering they've shut out multiple opponents, is because of their Ole Miss game that they did have on October 10th. They allowed 48 points to Ole Miss there, and I definitely think Alabama's a much better team since. If they played Ole Miss again today, I think Ole Miss would probably be in for a bad day. They probably wouldn't even be able to put up 20 on this Alabama defense, but all around, that's pretty much the only game that's bringing up that points allowed. Like, if you excluded that Ole Miss game, I think Alabama would probably be at like 14 points allowed right now per game. So all around, Alabama is an excellent team. They've pretty much blown out every single opponent, and then Auburn on the flip side is looking pretty good too. But you can't deny that Auburn's got a good or has had a decent season so far. 28 points per game is pretty good all around, because that's right around, that's just above average, I think, for most SEC teams. But here's your previous 5 games for both these teams. Auburn beat Tennessee last week 30-17. They beat LSU 48-11. They absolutely destroyed LSU in that matchup. Also beat Ole Miss 35-28. They did lose to South Carolina 22-30. That was one of their more confusing losses. They definitely should have beat South Carolina. They've got a lot more talent than South Carolina does on their side. But they also beat Arkansas 30-28, which Razorbacks really are not that terrible of a team this season, so it's not a terrible win. But for Alabama on the flip side, you got Kentucky. They beat them 63-3. Beat Mississippi State 41-0. They beat Tennessee 48-17. beat Georgia 41-24. That was a great win there against the Bulldogs there, and they also beat Ole Miss 63-48. So both these teams in general, I mean, Alabama's put up 60-plus points in multiple games this season. That's something you also got to consider, is that it's not just Alabama's defense that's good. Their offense is excellent as well. I mean, all around, Alabama is just an extremely talented team this season. And here's your key points for this matchup. Alabama is definitely the most consistently good team in the nation right now. I've already went over that multiple times. Like, Alabama is such a talented team here. I mean, they're so consistent, and usually that's kind of been the trend with a lot of teams this 2020 season, is just the inconsistency. Like, we see one team be really good one week, and then the next week they're not as good, which, of course, I mean, Clemson's a great team, but of course, I mean, with Trevor Lawrence and all the COVID-related issues that everyone's had, I mean, yeah, it's just been a crazy season for a lot of teams. And Alabama definitely, I think, I mean, they've just been so consistent is the big thing here. Like, we really don't see a lot of mainly good, consistent teams in the nation right now because, once again, with everything that's going on with the pandemic, it just has really screwed a lot of things up. But Auburn definitely has gained back some momentum, which is great for them. Obviously, they did have a bit of a slow start. I mean, if you remember Auburn at one point this season, I think they were 2-2. Like, after their game against South Carolina, this Auburn team was 2-2, which is a terrible record, especially to start off the season with. But ever since then, I think Auburn's actually improved quite a bit. Like, looking at them now, they're definitely a way different team than they were at the beginning of the season. But this is going to be a crucial game for both these teams moving forward because on Alabama's side, I mean, you got a college football playoff appearance at risk here. Of course, if you lose to Auburn, I think Alabama's chances of going into the college football playoff are still there, but it's definitely lower than it was before because Auburn is not a top 10 team. It's not like, I mean, you don't have much insurance if you lose this game. So that's going to be pretty detrimental to the Crimson Tide here if they do take a loss. But this is going to be a big game for both these teams moving forward. There's no doubt about that, especially for Auburn. I mean, for Auburn on their side, if you get a win here against Alabama, that completely makes up for the 2 losses you had earlier on in the season. That completely it would be huge for them. This would be a huge signature win for their program, considering Alabama has been so dominant all season long. So you also got to consider that, but I mean, is there a possible shootout coming in this game is another thing. I mean, we've seen a lot of high-scoring games between both these teams in the past, and I definitely think it's possible again here. You got 2 pretty good offenses with Bo Nix, of course, at quarterback for Auburn. He's been playing pretty well over the past couple of games. It looks like he's finally clicked. Then Mac Jones has been absolutely insane for Alabama this season, putting up already 2,500 yards through 7 games. I mean, he's on track with 2,500 yards through 7 games. He's on track to hit 5,000 this season. So Mac Jones certainly is a very good player right now. So all around, I think both offenses are really good, and we're going to see more of a high-scoring one here. I'm not sure about a shootout. I think I've got Alabama in the end here. I think Alabama all around is just the better team. You got Mac Jones, of course, who's been playing extremely well. Alabama in general has just been playing great. I mean, their defense has been so good. They've only allowed 3 points over the past couple of games, which in the SEC, that is extremely hard to do. And so for Alabama to be able to do that like they have, they just look like a great team right now. They're definitely a complete team, probably the most complete team in the nation for that matter. So I'm going to give it to Alabama, 42-27 being the final score. Halftime score is going to be 21-13, so I do think it's going to be close at first. Auburn will score some points from the start, but Alabama's going to get the win, 42-27 being the final score. And your probability is going to be 75% towards the Crimson Tide. So I do think Alabama does end up winning this one, at least by 75%. But I do think, I mean, Auburn does have a chance. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me a lot if Auburn did win this game. Like, I think Alabama is definitely the favorite here, but I mean, if Auburn did win, I mean, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be extremely surprised. I mean, Auburn's definitely a talented team here too. I mean, Bo Nix has been playing really good lately. He's been playing a lot better than he did at the beginning of the season, that's for sure. But Auburn in general has got a lot of momentum going into this matchup, and they're definitely looking like a much better team than they did at the beginning of the season. So in the end, it's going to be a fun matchup, but I've got Alabama getting the win, 42-27. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup. Let me know your score predictions, all of that down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But then again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. And if you enjoyed this preview, slap a like on it and subscribe as well if you're not already yet, as it really helps out the channel. And I'd really appreciate that too. Then again, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more. I'll see y'all later.